It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Machiavelli's warning is not a call to cruelty, it is a map of how human behavior bends towards structure. You feel it every day. When your time is easy to take, it gets taken. When your attention is free, it is spent by others. Respect is not granted by your good heart. It is enforced by the costs you attach to access. Picture the scene. You answer every message in seconds, cancel plans to help, explain yourself twice, then a third time. You tell yourself you're generous. They tell themselves you're available. Boundaries blur, and trespass becomes routine. A late arrival gets a smile. A broken promise earns another chance. Slowly, you teach them that your word has no guard and your gate has no price. Outcomes don't follow wishes. They follow the structure you tolerate. You don't lose respect all at once. You leak it minute by minute, concession by concession, until your silence becomes a yes you never spoke. Respect is engineered. You design it with what you allow, what you refuse, and what happens after a line is crossed. A posted rule is not a boundary, a cost is. When you attach consequences, behavior rearranges itself. When you remove them, behavior returns to chaos. People are not monsters, they are calculators. They measure the path of least resistance. If your time is the cheapest route to comfort, they will drive through it every day. This is virtue, not mood, not motivation, but disciplined control. Virtue is the craft of shaping what happens next. You decide your cadence, your windows of access, your response times. You decide when you are reachable and when you are not. You decide that silence is not guilt, it is governance. Fortune, the weather of life, the whims of others, the storms you didn't cause will always arrive. But you do not kneel to the weather, you build to withstand it. Positive thinking is not a plan. A plan is a plan. Think like a city-state. Your mind is a capital that funds your life. Walls are your boundaries, what you will not discuss, what you will not do, what you will not justify. Gates are your access rules. Who gets in, on what schedule, through which channel. Guards are your protocols, default replies, standard delays, rituals that make you predictable to yourself. Punishments are the credible penalties. Slower access after disrespect, fewer privileges after pressure. A clean exit when the treaty is broken. Inside these walls, you conserve energy for real battles, building skill, choosing allies, executing long games. Outside them, noise will try to pull you out panic texts, guilt trips, status tests dressed as jokes. Do not debate every provocation. Make the cost of chaos higher than the thrill of it. Keep your rules stable, your tone calm, your ledger exact. People learn quickly when the pattern is clear. They learn even faster when the pattern is enforced. None of this is about being unkind. It is about refusing to be owned by random weather. You cannot stop people from wanting what they want. You can stop them from getting it the cheapest way through you. Your calm is not a favor to others. It is a duty to your future. When you price access properly, you stop performing for approval and start governing for outcomes. You become harder to move, harder to bait, harder to drain. You become someone whose presence is requested, not assumed. The painful truth is simple. If you don't set the rules, someone else will. If you don't assign costs, someone else assigns you the bill. Make your mind a governed territory. Post the law. Enforce it softly and consistently. Let your silence speak price. Let your actions teach the lesson. Structure is peace. They do not love you. They price you. In every room, people measure your spine, not your smile. If warmth is the only signal you send, warmth becomes permission. The comforting myths: be liked, be kind, be open, sound, humane, but each one is an opening in your armor. You confuse approval with safety, kindness with loyalty, transparency with trust. Every illusion sells a piece of your sovereignty for a brief hit of comfort that dissolves as soon as someone learns the cost is zero. The cult of being liked is a steady tax on your power. Approval feels like shelter, but the rent is paid with time, silence, and softer standards. You lower your voice to avoid friction. You say yes before you think. You pad each sentence so no one's mood trembles. People read you clearly. You fear disapproval more than you value direction. That fear becomes a handle others can grip. Colleagues route extra work through you because you will not refuse. Friends arrive late because you always forgive. Even strangers test you because there is no cost. Picture a common night. Your phone lights up at midnight. Quick favor? You reply, "Sure, I've got it." The next day you are praised as a lifesaver. The same scene repeats next week, then again after that. The praise is the lure. Repetition is the trap. They are not villains, they are optimizers. In public life, affection is currency tied to utility. When your utility ends, their affection migrates to the next supplier. If your identity is built on being liked, you must constantly buy the feeling with more availability and fewer boundaries. If you want to be liked, improve your results, not your softness. Competence earns quiet regard. Scarcity earns respect. Boundaries earn both. A leader who chases love becomes vulnerable to every rumor. A worker who chases likability becomes vulnerable to every request. Decide which dislikes you are willing to carry so you can carry your plan. Better to be briefly resented for a clean no than endlessly drained by your need to be adored. Now, the second illusion. Promises without penalties. Agreements sound noble when spoken, but human behavior arranges itself around cost. A promise with no consequence is a polite wish. You say, "Please don't do that again," and they nod, and you both pretend the matter is closed. Then it repeats, because the price remains zero. Nice boundaries are non-binding treaties, tidy sentences guarding empty gates. When you teach people that apology resets the board, you invite repeat offenders to play forever. Consider relationships. A partner breaks a small rule, sarcasm in public, a secret kept too long. You talk for hours, extract a promise, feel heard. Nothing changes because nothing was charged. Or look at management. A teammate misses a deadline and tells a moving story. You accept the story and move the milestone. The pattern becomes culture. In every arena, the breach that costs nothing becomes a strategy. Rational actors choose the cheaper path, not the prettiest paragraph. Penalties are not cruelty, they are the physics of stability. Attach predictable costs to specific breaches. First offense, slower access. Second, reduced privileges. Third, removal from the circle. Announce this once calmly and enforce it the same way every time. The point is not pain, the point is pattern. When the pattern is real, people adjust. When the pattern is sentimental, people improvise at your expense. Mercy without memory breeds chaos. Mercy with structure restores order. The third illusion is total transparency. You believe honesty means revealing every plan, every doubt, every wound. You overshare to prove you have nothing to hide. But full disclosure is self-disarmament. Markets teach a simple truth. What is abundant is cheap. What is scarce is valued. When you narrate your motives, timelines, and thresholds, you hand others a pricing model for your attention. They learn how long to push until you crack. They learn which words open the gate. They learn the exact moment your patience breaks. Imagine an interview. You tell the panel your only weakness is overwork, that you struggle to refuse requests, that you crave team harmony. You think you sound humble and honest. What they hear is leverage. You can be overloaded. You can be guilt-ed. You can be steered by group pressure. or think of dating. On day 1, you announce that you hate conflict and fear abandonment. A good person will tread gently. A cunning person will not need to raise a voice. They will tighten or loosen attention to steer your decisions. Controlled opacity is not deceit. It is ethical self-defense. Reveal what is necessary for coordination, not what is gratifying for confession. Keep your timelines, your triggers, and your long game close. Speak in results, not raw nerves. Offer clarity of terms, not exposure of soul. When others cannot price your thresholds, they must respect your stated rules. When they can, they will test your limits until your limits belong to them. All 3 illusions share one root: the hope that goodwill alone governs behavior. Most people navigate by incentives and constraints, not wishes. Likability draws bodies to the door. Leverage decides who remains polite once inside. Promises feel binding in the air. Only costs bind on the ground. Transparency feels virtuous. Scarcity makes virtue sustainable. Drop the myths. Stop begging for better treatment and start designing it. From this moment, think like a strategist, not a supplicant. Choose which likes you can afford to lose. Translate rules into patterns with teeth. Replace confession with clarity. When you do, the room changes. Some step back because the cheap path closed. Others step closer because order is attractive. It signals safety. You become legible to the right allies and expensive to the wrong ones. And slowly, the temperature of your backbone rises not from anger, but from structure. Trade comfort myths for governed peace. You are easiest to rule when your wounds speak first. The parts of you that fear being left, shamed, or misunderstood walk ahead and bargain on your behalf. Others do not need to threaten you. They only need to know which thread to pull. What you never examine becomes your leash. What you govern becomes your peace. Begin with the predictability tax. You believe you act freely, yet the same fear presses the same button every time. Someone hints at disappointment and you rush to fix it. Someone pulls away and you chase. Someone raises a voice and you shrink. These loops make you legible. Once legible, you are governable, because strategy loves a map more than it loves force. Fear of rejection writes 2 scripts: overperformance and over-explanation. Overperformance makes you do more than is asked to preempt criticism. Over-explanation makes you argue innocence when no trial exists. A rival needs only a small cue to trigger either script. A text left on read becomes a summons. You send a long message to close the distance. A sigh in a meeting feels like a verdict. You volunteer for extra work to escape the imagined sentence. Reflex masquerades as responsibility. Fear of abandonment writes another law: never be the one who stops. You reply first, arrive early, carry extra weight, and keep the door open even after someone walks out. Often, it is dread wearing the discipline's jacket. Anyone willing to invoke distance can steer you by stepping back and waiting for your sprint. Shame crafts a quieter leash. You believe you must earn your place every hour. Praise does not land. It simply resets the timer. You hedge each sentence, dilute each ask, laugh at insults to prove you are a good sport, trade dignity for inclusion, and the market responds. Prices drop, requests grow. Your boundaries borrow what they cannot repay. Now study appeasement scripts. Chronic niceness feels moral because it avoids heat, but it is often a survival manner. You smooth the room so the room will not turn on you. You make concessions in advance, volunteer before being asked, offer discounts before anyone protests, explain yourself before anyone challenges you. In power games, preemptive compromise plants a flag on your hill. Appeasement taxes your most valuable assets. It taxes time, unneeded meetings, midnight messages, rehearsed defenses no one requested. Its taxes focus. Your best hours manage temperature instead of building anything worthy. It taxes leverage. When you always soften, your no becomes rare and unbelievable. Kindness loses weight when it carries no steel, and people price you accordingly. Watch the small scenes. A friend mocks you in public as a joke. You smile to keep things light. The joke escalated because laughter was permission. A partner uses silence during conflict. You bridge the gap every time to stop the discomfort. The pattern hardens. They do not need reasons, only withdrawal. At work, a superior learns you accept scope creep if it is framed as team spirit. Deadlines slide onto your desk while credit slides elsewhere. Subsidy invites expansion. Nice without boundaries is not virtue, it is exposure. Virtue is consistency under rules you wrote and enforced. If your rules dissolve under pressure, you are not kind, you are captured. The world is not out to break you, but it will always use the cheapest available resource. If your peace is cheapest, demand rises. Price it correctly, and demand corrects. To become mentally untouchable, reverse engineer your triggers like an investigator. Do not therapize. Instrument. Build a log with 4 columns. Situation, spike, concession, beneficiary. Situation. What happened, stated in neutral terms. Spike. What you felt, named with a single word. Fear, shame, anger, hunger for approval. Concession. What you did, that baseline you would not extra hours. Instant reply. Free access. Self-accusation. Beneficiary. Who gained and how. Run the audit for 2 weeks. Patterns will appear. Certain phrases reliably unlock you. We counted on you. You're so understanding. I guess I can ask someone else. They are not crimes. They are keys that fit your lock. Change the lock. Decide in advance what will happen next time each key appears. If disappointment is invoked, shorten your message. If silence is deployed, hold cadence. If anger arrives, document and move to written terms. Translate this into protocols. Protocols are guards who do not tire. Set response times that do not bend. Set meeting limits that do not expand for guilt. Install price floors on your labor. Issue 1 warning for disrespect, then reduce access. No speeches, no anger, only patterns. When the pattern is visible and enforced, chaos stops bidding for your attention. Expect turbulence as you enforce. Systems resist change when their subsidy is removed. Some will accuse you of coldness and test repeatedly, hoping the old you returns. Hold. The first storm is proof your rules are real. You are not fighting people. You are retiring incentives that paid them. When the payments end, behavior recalculates. What remains is partnership built on respect or distance that frees your calendar. Do not confuse silence with weakness or distance with spite. Silence is the guard you post at your gates. Distance is the moat that keeps your city safe from every fire outside. Keep your inner council small and disciplined. Ask each member whether they gain when you break your rules and lose when you keep them. Allies who profit from your appeasement are not allies. When you choose structure over wound, grief arrives. Not everyone who loves the unpriced version of you will stay for the governed one. That grief is the tax you pay to exit the empire of your triggers. Pay it once. On the other side is steadiness. Your breath slows, your schedule clears, your words grow heavy. Respect arrives not as applause, but as compliance with your terms. This is not cruelty, it is stewardship of your life. You will still give, but without the tremor. You will still help, but under conditions. You will still love, but not as a hostage. The wound may speak, but it does not steer. The wheel belongs to rules you set. You do not. You need to dominate others. You need to stop being dominated by your own reflex. Your mind is a city-state again. The flag is calm. The walls are firm. The gates are orderly. Weather passes. Markets adjust. You are not untouchable because no one reaches. You are untouchable because their reach cannot move what is governed. Structure over wound, every time. The walls don't fall in a day. They loosen in the soft hours when you doubt your own law. One overlooked slight, one hurried apology, one performance for an audience that pays in nothing. Soon the enemy is inside, wearing your face, spending your energy like a careless treasurer. This is collapse, not invasion, but surrender. Yet even a city in pieces can be saved when you walk into the command room and speak like a governor again. The siege within has a rhythm. You rehearse arguments for applause that will never arrive, stare at read receipts, draft paragraphs to a silence that owes you nothing. You defend yourself publicly, then defend the defense, then wake at night to defend it again to ghosts only you can see. Chasing becomes diplomacy. Overthinking becomes religion. These reflexes leak power. When you chase, you declare need. When you over-explain, you elevate their doubt to a court. When you perform strength in public, you announce that private strength is missing. A rival does not have to attack if you are busy prosecuting yourself. Tiny pressures, a late reply, a raised brow, a vague mention of your name, mobilize your entire army to win an argument that does not exist on paper. Then rumination rolls out heavier artillery. Revenge fantasies that feel like strategy but cost the same hours strategy needs. You imagine speeches that scorch the earth and restore your honor. You plan dramatic exits and grand returns. Everything dramatic except the dull, disciplined moves that actually change positions. Fewer words, tighter gates, cleaner ledgers. Fury makes smoke, structure makes distance. Enough. From this moment, catharsis yields to calculation. Enter the command room, close the door, turn on the cold light. Draw 4 columns with no sentiment. Objectives, assets, alliances, liabilities. Objectives first. What will matter in 6 months, not 6 minutes? What position do you want to hold? Not what applause do you want to hear? Write outcomes you can count. A delivered project, a clean exit, a reduced surface area for conflict, a revenue line protected by policy. Now, list assets as an outsider would value a firm. Your skills with proof attached, your body of work. Calendar blocks that. Protected, multiply value. Channels you control without permission from gatekeepers. Your patience when conserved. Your silence when it is policy rather than punishment. Assets are levers, not vibes. Put a number, a schedule, or a rule next to each one so it can be used on command instead of borrowed by panic. Define alliances with the same cold pen. Who gains when you advance, loses when you bleed, and proves it with behavior, not speeches. Name the mutual benefit in a sentence. If the ledger is foggy, the alliance is fiction. Clarify or downgrade to neutral. Liabilities are every channel where you can be baited, every person who profits when you over-explain, every habit that advertises your wounds. Underline the ones you feed yourself. That is your first cut. Stabilization begins now. First, shrink the attack surface. Silence is not retreat, it is armor. Do not answer provocation or correct rumors. Move conversations to written terms where memory cannot lie. Reduce channels of approach to 1 or 2 and guard them with timing rules nobody gets to vote on. Second, stop concessions. You will want to buy peace with pieces of yourself, free labor, instant access, public self-critique. Each purchase funds the next riot. Declare a freeze. No new explanations, no unplanned meetings, no deadlines without resources, no apologies to end discomfort. Third, collect intelligence. Who benefits from your panic? Which phrases always unlock you? Which rooms misquote you? And why are you still in them? Make lists, then redesign routes. fewer reactive loops, more direct paths to decision makers. Whenever possible, move from crowds to closed doors, from debate to documentation, from noise to numbers. Intelligence is a shield cut from chaos. Wear it before the battle, not after. You will feel cold because heat was your drug. Your hands will want the phone. Your mouth will want the open mic. Let them tremble. Your duty is to the city, not to the tremor. Walk the walls at dawn. Count supplies. Check hinges. Send no proclamations, only orders. People will call you distant. Distance is how you see the whole map. People will call you harsh. Firmness is how bridges stand when the river swells. As the protocols hold, fog thins. Emergencies shrink to true size. Accusations die when they cannot find oxygen. The alliances that wanted your results, not your drama, grew steadier. The ground returns under your feet. The mind that sprints in circles begins to walk in straight lines. Repair is not glamorous, but it is louder than revenge where it matters. In the ledger, now translate repair into reform. Fix the gates permanently. Specific hours for access, specific channels for requests, specific criteria for yes. Price your time with flaws that resist flattery. Replace broadcasting with periodic bulletins of results. Replace open calendars with protected blocks named after the future you are building. Put every rule in writing for yourself first. The goal is not to look strong. The goal is to make strength the default, even on your weaker days. If you must speak, speak to record, not to redeem. Here are the terms. Here is the timeline. Here is the consequence. No thunder, no theater. Rage can burn a city. It cannot govern one. If you need fire, light it in the forge where it heats steel. Punishments must be credible, proportionate, and enforced without drama. Rewards must be visible, consistent, and tied to the behavior you want repeated. This is not romance. This is statecraft. In time, quiet victories stack. Sleep returns. Appetite returns. Work deepens. The city pays fewer taxes to panic and more to production. Your enemies grow bored because your walls no longer talk. Your allies plan farther ahead because your roads are safe. You do not win by shouting. You win by outlasting the storm with a structure built for weather. The collapse felt like the end because you mistook noise for life. It was the end of a regime, not the end of a nation. You are not ruins. You are terrain waiting for better engineers. Draw the map again. Staff the gates with stricter guards. Keep the command room lit. When pressure rises next time, it will find a city that learned its own laws. Calm is not a gift you wait to receive. It is a jurisdiction you enforce. Order before comfort. They called it love because it felt warm, but warmth without structure is weather. You mistook comfort for contract. You believed loyalty was a feeling that would defend you when pressure arrived. It was never love. It was an arrangement priced, tested, and revised by incentives. That is not cynicism. It is the only way relationships survive contact with reality. Where the rules are clear, value stays. Where the rules dissolve, feelings wander. Affection is wind in your sails. Structure is the keel that keeps you from capsizing. Goodwill without rules drifts into entitlement. Rules without good will harden into prison. You need ordered warmth. Kindness guarded by boundaries that make the kindness sustainable. Without them, the sweetest person becomes a reservoir for other people's emergencies. With them, affection turns dependable, because each act of care lands inside limits that protect the giver and the bond. Think of the friend who means well, but always runs late. You forgive because you value the connection, and the forgiveness becomes a standing invitation. Soon, your schedule bends around another's chaos. That is not love, that is managed access. Post a rule 15 minutes grace, then the meeting moves. Watch how respect returns not as an apology, but as punctuality. Structure teaches the love to hold its shape. Now look at romance. Passion surges, calendars blur, messages explode at midnight and noon. It feels alive because it is loud. But intensity is not infrastructure. What endures is cadence, predictable response times, agreed windows of availability, clear lines for what happens when conflict rises. Passion without cadence burns out or turns manipulative. Cadence without affection becomes sterile. Combine them, and the relationship becomes governable. Predictability outperforms heat because it lowers uncertainty and raises trust. Make governance boring on purpose. Decide that you reply within certain hours. Decide that weekends are for rest or for play, not for crisis theater. Decide that escalation has steps. First a pause, then a private talk, then documentation, then distance if needed. This is not romance's poetry. It is its scaffolding. When the rules are known, there is less need to panic, less incentive to test, less room for scenes designed to seize the frame. At work, the same law holds. A teammate who loves brainstorming but ignores deadlines is not loyal to the mission. They are loyal to adrenaline. A manager who praises publicly and changes scope privately courts chaos. Replace charisma with calendars. Replace moods with milestones. Respect grows in the shade of enforcement. When missed agreements cost something visible, loyalty stops being a speech and becomes a habit. Revalue silence. In negotiation, silence discovers price better than argument. In intimacy, silence reveals interest better than pleading. When you do not fill the space, you see who steps forward with effort and who waits for you to subsidize the moment. Let silence measure reality. The person who values you will move to meet you. The one who only valued your endless accommodation will label you cold and fade. That exit is information, not tragedy. Non-reaction is not absence. It is an instrument. When a boundary is crossed, you do not owe a sermon. You owe a change in terms, fewer privileges, slower access, a pause long enough for incentives to recalculate. The mature partner adjusts. The opportunist escalates. Your silence is the market clearing. Your consistency is the law. This is the reframe you resisted because it sounded unromantic. Love, friendship, loyalty, and respect are all forms of governance, not domination governance. Two sovereigns setting terms that protect the union from their worst moods and the world's constant pressure. The vows are not feelings etched in air. They are rules you are both willing to live under when you are least inspired. When feelings rise again, the rules amplify them instead of eroding them. Ordered warmth looks like this. Invitations with edges, generosity with limits, standing hours for connection that don't demand proof by exhaustion. It looks like apologies that include a changed procedure, not just changed tone. It looks like praise tied to behaviors you want repeated and affection that does not bribe you to violate your own standards. It looks like two people protecting the conditions under which they can keep liking each other. Predictability is not boring when peace has been rare. It is the luxury you could not buy while you were selling yourself for intensity. Cadence makes trust affordable because it prevents the debt of constant reassurance. The story gets quieter, the sleep deeper, the arguments shorter, the work better. Passion returns not as a fire you must feed, but as heat produced by engines that actually run. So call it what it is, not the end of love, but the end of mystification. You were not cursed, you were underpriced. You were not unlovable, you were ungoverned. Today, you set the terms that make love possible to keep. You choose contracts that protect tenderness, boundaries that protect time, and consequences that protect respect. Those who cannot live with that clarity will leave. Good. They were borrowing against your future. Do not chase them into the dark. Keep your cadence, keep your law, keep your calm. Love that survives is love that can live inside rules without losing its warmth. The heart is a citizen. Give it a safe city to live in. Ordered warmth over reckless fire. Power without discipline leaks. Discipline turns heat into law. You have anger, ambition, and pride raw fuel. Untamed, they scorch your days. Shaped, they become virtue, the practiced ability to choose what happens next. You do not banish the darkness, you deputize it. You turn temper into timing, hunger into focus, pride into standards. Power is not a feeling, it is a system. Start with boundary architecture. Think in tiers of access, not a single open door. Tier 1, public, courteous, brief, and on your schedule. Tier 2, professional, clear terms, written requests, set deliverables. Tier 3, personal, limited, earned, and revocable when respect slips. Tier 4, inner circle, very few, deep trust, mutual leverage. Each tier has rules for entry and rules for exit. No one skips a tier because the mood is strong. Define time gates. Morning hours for high-value work, guarded like treasury. Midday for logistics. Late day for review. Evenings for rest. If someone wants access outside the gate, they must pay reschedule, offer resources, or wait. Your calendar is a fortress. The drawbridge lowers by design, not pity. Mark no-go zones. Topics you do not discuss. Favors you do not grant. The past you do not relitigate. Your body, your financial details, your private doubts. These are sealed chambers. The point is not secrecy. It is a sanitary discipline. You prevent contamination of focus by forbidding casual entry. Now write the penalties. First offense, a calm, warning, and a smaller lane. Second offense, loss of privileges for a fixed period. Third, exit. Do not raise your voice. Raise the cost. State the rule once, enforce it the same way every time. People learn patterns. They also learn bluff. Your consistency teaches which is which. Codify the appeals process. If someone believes the cost was misapplied, they can present evidence at a set time. In writing, you are a governor, not a tyrant. When you correct yourself, you strengthen the law. When you ignore your own rules, you invite revolt in your mind. Next, cadence and scarcity. Your value is not only in what you do, it is in how predictably you do it. Pick response windows and hold them. Messages answered twice a day. Meetings stacked on 2 afternoons. Creative work in deep blocks. Emergencies defined and verified by criteria, not urgency tones. Scarcity here is not a game. It is how engines run without overheating. Install cooldowns after pressure. After a confrontation, no immediate renegotiations. After a major win or loss, a 24-hour pause before new commitments. Cool down is the guard that walks you past the ambush of impulse. Most mistakes are not from malice, they are from heat. Cadence drains heat and converts it into momentum. Publicly track only what stabilizes trust. Deliverable dates, decision times, office hours. Keep the rest off stage. You are not a live feed. You are a channel with a schedule. When people know the rhythm, they stop shaking the gates. When they cannot predict you, they test, and chaos becomes climate. Raise perceived value through consistent scarcity, not teasing. If you are available, be fully present. If you are not, be fully gone. Half availability invites manipulation because it suggests the price can be haggled. Treat your presence like a real currency. Inflation ruins respect. Now the economics of alliance. Loyalty is not warmth. It is aligned incentives expressed over time. Build reciprocity ledgers. Write down what each ally gives and receives: introductions, information, labor, credit. A ledger is not cold, it is clear. It prevents resentment by making exchange visible. Test an alliance with small risks before entrusting large ones. Share a modest opportunity and measure follow-through. Give precise terms and watch punctuality. Praise privately, credit publicly, and see if it is reciprocated. If your wins make them smaller, you do not have an ally. You have a rival in disguise. Downgrade access. Replace sentiment with maths. Create exit options. Every alliance must have a clean off-ramp, a way to reduce scope without war. Write the conditions early: missed milestones, value drift, misaligned ethics. When the clause triggers, execute without bitterness. Long fights drain the treasury. Quiet exits save empires. Maintain replacement plans. 2 candidates for every role, 2 suppliers for every need, 2 routes for every critical task. Redundancy is not paranoia, it is sovereignty. If you cannot be replaced, you will beg. If you will beg, they will price you. Keep choices, and you keep posture. Control your narrative with facts, not speeches. Publish your terms once. Publish your results on schedule. Correct errors in writing, and move on. Resist the hunger to decorate every decision with emotion. Sentiment weakens policy. Your story is simple. You protect conditions under which you keep your promises. Anger, ambition, pride, bring them to the forge. Let anger, power, enforcement, not insult. Let ambition aim your calendar, not your envy. Let pride raise your standards, not your voice. When the council in your chest argues, give each member a job. Anger turns the key on penalties. Ambition writes the roadmap and dates it. Pride audits the ledger for sloppiness. All other uses are waste. Build rituals that make the system durable. Weekly audit. Review breaches, outcomes, and whether costs were applied. Monthly alliance review. Note value traded and friction points. Quarterly reset. Adjust gates. Refresh no-go zones. Retire tired scripts. Rituals freeze victories and thaw mistakes. Without them, passion dictates law, and law collapses under weather. Expect resistance and reward it with silence. The first time you deny a cheap favor, someone will escalate. Do not match volume, match pattern. Repeat the rule, apply the cost, and return to work. The city watches. When it sees you govern without drama, it calms. If you bargain with rebels, unrest becomes profitable. None of this makes you unkind. It makes you credible. Kindness inside a credible system is rare and unforgettable. People trust a gift that does not require their worship. People trust a leader whose no is clean and whose yes arrives on time. Reputation compounds into authority by policy, not performance. Today you meet the shadow and assign it duties. You stop apologizing for your force and start organizing it. You transform heat into law. You build gates that open when you command them and close when you must think. You choose allies who stand to gain when you keep your standards and stand to lose when you drop them. You become expensive to the chaotic and priceless to the dependable. Discipline is how power keeps its promise. The city is quiet because the law is visible. You wake and the gates are closed to noise that once strolled in at dawn. The calendar no longer negotiates against you. The phone does not own your breath. This is not luck, this is governance. You built rules, you enforced costs, and the storm learned the walls were real. Quiet power feels like ordinary life is finally protected. Fewer arguments because bait no longer finds a hook. Faster decisions because your priorities are posted and non-negotiable. Better sleep because the mind knows the night watch is on duty. When a provocation appears, you do not sprint to explain. You consult the code, apply the consequence, and return to your work. When a rumor flares, you do not tour the city with speeches. You publish the terms and let time separate smoke from fire. The heart settles because the city is not guessing about law. It knows the pattern will hold. Peace does not mean softness. It means order that does not beg to be respected. The room learns your rhythm, office hours, response windows, the difference between emergency and theater. People shape themselves to structure the way water shapes itself to stone. The few who cannot will leave for looser gates. Let them go. The city grows safer each time convenience fails to purchase exceptions. Reputation is the long game, and it compounds under consistency. In month 1, they test you. In month 3, they adjust to you. In month 6, they predict you. After a year, respect is the default, because deviation has always been expensive. You no longer spend your mornings drafting defenses. You spend them building. Partners arrive prepared, because trying to haggle your standards has never worked. Opportunists stop knocking, because access without cost has never been for sale. Your name becomes shorthand for clarity. People say, ask but bring terms, not push, and you might squeeze through. Credit accumulates not through charm, but through deliveries on schedule and penalties applied without theater. This reputation is a moat you do not have to patrol. It deters trouble before it gathers, and it invites allies who value the same ground rules. The city-state of your mind is not a fortress against love. It is a border that lets the right caravans in on time. To keep this peace, build rituals of renewal. Once a week, run a power audit. Where did you bend your rules? Why? And what will prevent repetition? Adjust one hinge, not the entire gate. Review boundaries like infrastructure, tighten a window, close a loophole, retire a path that invites trespass. Check alliances with a simple ledger: value traded, friction surfaced, next action dated. If a bond costs you an order, renegotiate or reduce scope. If a bond multiplies order, reward it with trust and access. Each month, reset the cadence. Protect deep work blocks like treasury, reopen slots that served the mission, and sunset those that fed drama. Publicly confirm your schedule and stick to it. Remember that scarcity is not teasing, it is how you keep engines cool. After conflict or success, observe a cool-down period before new commitments. Heat is a poor counselor. The city deserves decisions made in clear weather. None of this requires cruelty. It requires steadiness. Your law is short, your tone plain, your consequences credible. You will still be generous, but generosity will arrive through gates that can close. You will still forgive, but forgiveness will not erase the record. You will still love, but love will live inside rules that keep it alive. Look at the horizon. Fewer fires, slower pulses, stronger bridges. You are not invulnerable, you are governed. And because you are governed, you are free. Let storms circle the walls and spend themselves in the moat. Inside, craftsmen work, children sleep, and the market opens on time. That is the promise of structure, peace that does not tremble when someone knocks. Protect order, and order protects you.